area, like reconstruction. So these cases are important. Usually the evidence, when it comes to the county, is at a level that's, felony level or serious, injury. And it's important that that evidence is protected. And once we take custody of it, of course, we're responsible for it. So if there's any way to, I don't know if there's any way to bring this up Monday. I know the Sheriff's Department's budget is still on deck. But, there's still that need to get something moving, or at least an area designated, at least if it could be even begun, if the delegation was willing to consider it, for the clearing of the trees where it's all been approved, and we've already expended, I think you said $4,500 on approvals, plans, and...
Yeah, it's all been surveyed, all laid out.
But I think, where it sits now, it's just a hazard, and it's...
Okay, well, you have anything to add?
No, I think you spoke quite well on it. Well, it's a concern, and it's a concern that could cost us a case or cost us some liability in the future, and I think we do need to act on it. We do have some responsibility, just even with our own cases. We have to house those cars somewhere, and we work for the county, and it's the county's responsibility. In the alternative, we'd have to, pay someone per day to house them somewhere else on a secure facility, and that's cost is going to rise. Obviously each day trials. I don't know what the average trial length with the cutbacks and so forth, but some of those cases are as much as a year before they go to trial, and $365 a day times minimum, I'm guessing $25 a day, that adds up. So, I think we need to look into it, and there's other things other than just putting up a fence and stuff. We need to come into make sure we plan for any type of fuel leakage and that type of thing. I think a comment was made about we don't want the EPA coming in on us or that type of thing. So but
how many vehicles do we have over there now?
Four or five. Right
4?
Now. 4 or 5.
You really cut it down, and there was
a lot.
11 or 12 over there the last time I counted, but that was a while ago.
A lot of it is because of the agencies that were using it, because of the commissioner's mandate a while, I think it was a year ago or something, are trying to house theirs. If you looked out behind Troop E's barracks, there's a whole, and it's not the best answer, anywhere. Some agencies have their own impound yard, but a lot of agencies just don't, and they can't afford it. And
can you talk about the tampering of what's taken place, when it took place?
I don't have I got briefed on it, but I don't have the specific knowledge. I know that there's issues with gas caps, and there was broken windows in one of the vehicles. I don't feel comfortable saying anything more about that. I can tell you that I do feel comfortable telling you that we have absolutely no suspects. There's no monitoring there. It's semi-secure over there because usually you have to go onto the county complex, but as far as any type of other safeguards other than in the middle of the county complex, there isn't anything.
I believe in the past we had an estimate of $10,000 to go in and stump it, take out the loan, and bring in a lot of fill. Now, we could, once they get through the old nursing home, and the cement is all broken up, small pieces, that could be used as fill, which would save us a lot of dollars, because they would haul it over there for us. Because it's going to stay on the complex somewhere. The other thing, I think you found that it was about $10,000 for the fencing of it, because it's like, I want to say, it's either 60 or 80 feet wide and 120 feet long.
Right.
So it's a sizable fencing project. And I think that was in at correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say around $10,000 just for the fencing.
That was 4 years ago, too. So.
Yeah. To answer your question, where it is, it's in our budget under administration building. And right now it's impound area, and it's in at $1. Now that $1 means that if we can find other money in our budget, then we can put towards doing that. But the problem is trying to find it, especially in the administration building, that's this building, budget is difficult to do. We actually overspent our budget this year for this building by almost $10,000. I'm sorry. No, we underspent by $5,000 for last year, 2011. Yeah.
Is there, I thought there was talk that maybe Will could facilitate, like cutting the trees down and stuff like that, cost savings there.
Yeah, that was in the plan, for them to cut the trees down, but then you gotta have somebody come in to stump them
Right.
and haul out the fill, the loam that's there.
I think it just, my own opinion is I think it needs to be brought in front of the delegation if we can. I don't know the procedures as well, but if we can bring it in front of them Monday or however, when, then we could do that and maybe educate them more than we have as to what the need is.
Maybe we ought to get the representatives from the police association
The
to come
chiefs-
in. They've been in before.
Yeah.
Maybe the delegation would listen to them and see if somebody would contact them and set that up to come in.
Yep.
Seeing that it's in our budget at $1, I think it's legal. It's a delegation's interpretation, but I think we can bring that up again to increase that $1 to whatever it takes to build the impound yard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Commissioner, I just think it's coming to a head is the reason why I came in today, because we can't put vehicles back out on the lawn. So the only thing, and I've discussed this with the Sheriff's Department, is the only other thing to do in the interim is to then bring those vehicles over here to the parking lot where there is monitoring, because they have to be brought someplace. So
Yeah.
before we get a reaction like we got with the farm and have a junk vehicle on the front lawn, I mean, right now it's out of sight or to some people, but not out of sight.
Yeah.
But we have no other alternative, and like I said, we keep getting pushed by the other agencies, and, you know, our own vehicles, we don't have a place for them. And, you know, when there's joint responsibility for investigation, you know, the Sheriff's Department needs that area to put its evidence. And so,
Yeah.
very, very soon, we're going to, you know, be in a situation where we can't put it anywhere, and that's not going to be an acceptable solution to the prosecution of a case or the investigation of a case.
How does the rest of the board feel about it? About bringing it up Monday and having the county chiefs association come in and maybe testify regarding that?
I think we've tried, you know, we've tried this once before, at least once before. Anything that can possibly move this thing along, I would agree to.
I don't,
You, Commissioner
Yeah,
Kennedy?
I think it needs to be brought up again and put on the agenda for Monday. Maybe we should ask them to put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Commissioner Solomon, I know that you were, I think the last time we discussed this, you were going to check with the other counties on how they were handling it, because sometimes the delegation listens to other, were you able to do that, or?
I don't remember saying I was
Oh,
going to do
okay.
this. But
Yeah, because I mean, we were trying to find out how other counties handled this very situation, because we were, you know, trying to make a good presentation to the general public.
Two things, though. Obviously, the best answer is chain link fence, cameras, all that type of thing. That being said, we can get away with cameras and then move towards getting the chain link fence in next year or something along those lines. I just want to make sure that, you know, I don't want to sound like we're being unreasonable. We want to build the palace in one day. Anything is better than what we have right now, but at least we need some sort of monitoring service, monitoring thing, and we have the capabilities to, you know, we can install a camera, and we have the capabilities where it gets recorded right in dispatch. So. The other thing is we are different than most counties here, so I wouldn't heavily rely on what other counties do. I think it's been proven over and over again that we have unique responsibilities because of the makeup of our counties. I would venture to guess, most counties, Belknap County, Merrimack, Hillsborough, all those large PDs have their own impound yard, or have Carroll
Would you
County.
check,
Yeah.
would you check on the other counties and find out who is responsible for those impound yards, whether it's the county attorney or whether it's the sheriff's department?
I'll check with the other counties to see if they have one, and if they
Mhm.
don't, what does the sheriff's office and the county attorney's office, how they handle that. I can take care of that before Monday.
Okay, okay. All right.
I would check specifically with co-ops in Grafton.
Right, yeah, absolutely, yeah. In Cheshire.
Okay. Any comments from the public in this particular issue? Mr. Albee?
Just a couple. First of all, the $25 a day, which I think is a little high on a private end of storage, is not $25 a day in clear profit. Prices are generated because of cost. The costs that are inherent in storing cars that are damaged are things like gasoline spills, oil spills, that sort of environmental issue. If you were to look at $10 a day for 5 cars, you're looking at $18,500 a year. So, which would cover your cost for your fencing and your driveway, et cetera.
Right, right.
So I think the problem that we've always had historically with this is that no one has control over it, but also no one has an ownership interest. No one's being charged for storing cars there, whether it's the county attorney or the sheriff's department
Or insurance company?
or anybody. So consequently, it sort of is muddled all the time. If you're gonna get to the point of actually building a yard for this, I think you also need to put together a structure for controls. Whether it's charging the sheriff's department $10 a day theoretically on their budget, or the county attorney something on his budget.
Mhm.
So if they have ownership, they're motivated to move these cars out, get whatever process done that can happen, or when the process ends, getting rid of the vehicle somehow. Because if we've gone from having 12 vehicles to having 4, obviously there are 8 there that were sitting there for a long time for whatever reason. But I think our problem had always been that although, and I'm certainly not impugning the sheriff's department or the county attorney, there's been no requirement for them to have any controls over this that's brought by the
Mhm.
commissioners. And I think if you're gonna spend money, you need to have a system of controls.
I think go ahead.
2 things. I agree mostly with what you're saying. As far as charging us, I don't agree with that, but because I think it's a service. If we're going to provide the service, it's a county tax dollar and so forth. However, that being said, there's only 4 cars there along the lines of what I said before. The commissioner put out that mandate saying. The other thing is, there is controls over there. We treat it like a property. When it goes in, it gets a property number, it gets inventoried, it's there. And it's a lot more tightly controlled now than when you were familiar with it.
Right.
It's tracked as soon as the case is done. Either us or generally the county attorney's office will notify us, and they'll put in the property release, and we'll facilitate by getting to the department or the insurance company to have it removed. The controls that you speak of are in place, and they have historically been in place. But the help of the county attorney's office, that's a lot tighter than it was before. So,
What happens when a state police brings in a vehicle that
typically,
they investigated?
when any department brings in a vehicle, they notify us, we meet them there, we get a property number, we get the property sheet,
Yeah.
we sign off on receiving the property, it's there.
They have no responsibility after that? They don't do any prosecuting or anything, the state police?
Well, if it's a county attorney's case, and the county attorney does it. If it's a regular DWI accident, for instance, or a hit and run or something, anything that involves a vehicle at a misdemeanor level, they
Yeah.
prosecute it. When they're done, again, they do the same thing the county attorney does, or we do. We'll motion the court to release the evidence, just like we do on any other type of evidence that we bring in at the end of the trial, and then we work on getting it back to the rightful owner at the time, whether it be an insurance company or
Yeah.
the victim, or
Okay,
it's
Yeah.
treated just like property, regular property.
okay.
I think Chip Albee's suggestions are in line. As far as charging one of us, I don't think that would be productive. But As you recall, we did say, and I think the sheriff did agree, that the structure is what's needed to manage these vehicles. And I had outlined to the sheriff, provided we could get this new impound and then take control of it, how it would be managed and what responsibilities any of the agencies that brought anything to make them, obligated. And that would be on taking care of them and things. So a couple of the neg hom cases that we had where we had the vehicles, we just couldn't even get them, tarped or protected from the elements or anything to do with it. And by having that structure and then starting from scratch where we have total control of the vehicles and management, then we can control it and also control the costs. Like, even though we just had another case, which was one of the neg hom cases from Molten Borough, they were managing the vehicle for over a year there. And it took our staff to do all the paperwork and follow up with the insurance companies in order to get it released. Because in order to file the motions with the court and get the proper court authority, we had to have their cooperation. And because it had been managed from Molten Borough and not here, Molten Borough was anxious to get it off of their roles and their responsibility. And, it took a considerable amount of time. So there are costs, and those were properly, stated by, former Commissioner Albury, that, these costs are passed along to the county, and, our paralegal had to spend a good part of the day trying to tracking down different insurance companies in Massachusetts and trying to get permission so that we could even get the order, which probably will be in this week. But, with that, with structure and all of these things, and if we could just get a starting point, even if we can't pay for the whole thing, then we can start afresh and anew, and then cut the costs of the administration of these vehicles to the county and the responsibility, so that it's properly handled. And I think the sheriff's department is willing to do that.
Right.
I know
the
10 or
sheriff
12
is-
years ago, those vehicles used to be kept at a garage. Whatever garage record service picked their vehicle up, it was stored at that garage. And then we started, as a county, to get bills from that garage for holding a vehicle there. And that's when it was decided that we would bring them here on campus and store them here at no cost to the county. Maybe that was the wrong thing to do at that time. We should have put in an impound yard right then.
I think that's an important part, and I won't say which garage, but we did have one of those situations arise this year where it was privately managed, and the cost of it, I think, was over $10,000 or $20,000 for storage. And then it became an issue for the town.
Who paid that?
Well, that's what I'm not gonna comment on, because I don't know if it's in litigation or where it is. But
We didn't see a bill, at least.
But you see, this is what happens when we don't have any control over the vehicle. I mean, if we have a place, then, we get into the legalities of who is responsible for it. And then it's, the private service is saying, well, you called us to maintain and to protect this vehicle and do all these things. And now, whose responsibility is for it to pay, and it becomes a quagmire. So it still is occurring, so that's why I say it's coming to a head, because these people keep saying, when is something going to be done about this? So you're right, Commissioner, that it's not just an old thing the way it was happening. It happened this year, and the victim witness advocate said, oh, what are we supposed to do now? And I'm saying, I don't know what to do, because I didn't have any control over it. Neither did the sheriff's department, because the vehicle was kept some other place in another town that doesn't have the facilities to protect that evidence.
I know in Conway, they used to keep a lot of their vehicles out back of the police station. And I don't know what kind of protection they had there either.
Well, I used to work there, obviously, so I know that they used to house them at one of the local areas, and because of the cost, they leave them outside. But they do have what's designated as an impound yard. It doesn't have a fence around it, but it does have a camera on it. And I can tell you that a number of times when I worked there, when someone looked like someone was going in the impound yard, we got called off the road, and we went there and asked them what they were doing and so forth. And it was everything from someone wanted to get property out of the car, someone thought there was an auction and they wanted to look over cars, to someone just wanted to see what was going on. So
It looks to me, go ahead, Mr. Albee.
The reason I brought up charging departments is the only way you're going to move the delegation on this, from my perspective, is to do one of two things. Either justify the cost with an offsetting charge, going forward, or get specific historical data together as to what it would have cost had the 4 or 5 or 10 or whatever cars been in private storage, so that you're avoiding costs or you're offsetting costs. But to talk in theoreticals, I don't think is as effective as giving them some accurate money figures. That's thank you.
Okay. Well, my feeling is it's a responsibility of the county, and we ought to handle it properly and make sure that it is secure and that we have no problems when we have to go to court to defend whatever that vehicle sustains in our impound yard, so to speak. I know a motorcycle sat over there for over a year through the winter. We didn't throw a canvas over it. We didn't throw anything over it. That has since left our facility and was picked up. But I'm sure that motorcycle is worth a lot of money, not only because the front of it was damaged, but the rest of it looked in pretty good shape. But sitting there for a year without covering or anything over it, I'm sure it didn't improve the value of it. So if it's agreeable to the board, I think we ought to bring it up again, and if we can have somebody from the Chiefs Association come in and support it, we'll do that. So somebody, one of you two,
For Monday.
contact the Chiefs Association
Yeah, for Monday.
Yeah, I'll have.
for Monday.
I'll have the lieutenant contact
Okay.
the president.
Okay, is that agreeable to
Yep,
the board?
that's okay.
Okay, all right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, sir.
He's being cautious. He's being cautious.
Okay, next on our agenda, which was scheduled for 10 o'clock, McCautious? Or anybody at the association, come right up. I wish somebody was here from the nursing home. Okay. Okay, I guess you're here to talk about Medicaid for the nursing home people and so forth from Health and Human Services point of view, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Um,
Want to introduce the people that are here with you?
Yes,
If you would?
my name is Jonathan McCosh. I'm from the State of New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services, and I'm with the Bureau of Elderly and Adult Services, where my title is Rate Setting and Audit Administrator. Immediately to my left is Sherry Rockburn. She works for the Division of Community-Based Care Services, which is the parent group above that the Bureau of Elderly Adults is a part of. And your official title is?
I'm the Director of Finance for the Community Long-Term Care Support Services.
Okay.
Okay, and the person further down there, that's Jennifer Doig, and she is a business administrator in the rate setting and audit unit.
Okay.
Okay, I was asked to come here today to give a overview on how nursing home rate setting works and the various components, as well as to talk about the county billing. And I'd like to do this in two parts simply because the first part is what you would receive as the operator of a nursing home as a payee to the nursing home payments. And I think it's helpful to separate that from the payor as far as the county as a responsibility for paying for all nursing homes. If you try mixing them together, it tends to blur the issue. So it's helpful to separate them in two sections. So the first part, I have a short PowerPoint presentation here to talk about, is basically how nursing homes get paid from the Medicaid program. And there are various different types of payment. Just to begin with perspective as to what the county's share of the operation is, there's a chart on the first page there listing all licensed nursing homes. There are at present 80 in the state, of which 11 are county facilities. But when you actually look at beds, the county beds represent 1,866 beds. And so part of why disproportionately it's a higher percentage of beds than of facilities is because a number of the counties have some larger facilities.
Could you, just a sideline, could you comment, or whether you're aware of how many private nursing homes went out of business in the last 2 years?
Yes, in the last 2 years, going out of business, essentially you had, I believe only two, and they were both hospital affiliated. You had the Alice Peck Day program closed their hospital wing, and Huggins Hospital closed their hospital wing that were licensed nursing homes.
I was thinking there were two over in Grafton County. No?
No.
Private nursing homes?
No.
Oh, really? Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving on to page 2. As far as county Medicaid occupancy, counties have a higher percentage of Medicaid than the private facilities. And essentially, at the most recent survey, 73% of the county residents were met on the Medicaid program, and only 27% were non-Medicaid. To essentially receive nursing home rate setting under Medicaid, you have to be enrolled in the Medicaid program. You have to have New Hampshire licensed facilities. The current rate has both a cost and an acuity component. Acuity refers to the patient diagnosis. Rates are set twice a year, acuity adjusted twice a year. That's by law, statute, in July and January. So on July 1, you would receive a different nursing home rate that would be good for 6 months. Then January 1, you would receive another nursing home rate good for 6 months. In addition to the initial Medicaid rate that you would receive on an ongoing basis, on a quarterly basis, we also have supplemental MQIP rates. MQIP is an acronym for Medicaid Quality Incentive Program, and I'll be going over that in detail as well.
Explain that.
And then lastly, relevant to the counties, you have prospective share, which usually referred to by the abbreviation ProShare.
ProShare.
And that's paid annually in June, and I'll be discussing that as well. Okay. The acuity?
Just a question
Yes.
regarding acuity rates.
Yes.
Is there more money allocated if there's greater need?
Absolutely, yeah. That's how the acuity, that's essentially what the acuity-based system, in effect, was put into place. One of the main reasons why it was put into place back in 1999 is because up until that point, everyone was paid, all nursing home beds were treated as the same. And so there was actually an incentive for nursing homes to take in the less acute residents that would need less direct care, because then you could actually make more of a profit or surplus on those residents, because you would get paid the same. And there was a disincentive to take the more acute patients requiring more care, because that would be more costly. So part of why this was put into effect was in order to adequately compensate somebody because direct care is the largest component of the nursing home rate. So in February 1, 1999, this was put into place. Now these use what's called the minimum data set, or MDSs, to have this determine what the acuity information is. Now this is a federally required form that the nursing homes up until then had been required to complete anyway. So this was not a state imposition of additional burden to determine the acuity. This was being done normally. And it's done when a person's admitted to a nursing home. They have to fill out a comprehensive medical data set form.